Okay, so let's dive right in. In this explainer, we're going to explore a really powerful idea from psychology, one that could totally change how you deal with stress, anxiety, you name it. It's all about learning to think like a scientist, but about your own life. You know that feeling, right? Where you're just tied up in knots, you're anxious, maybe angry, or you're just beating yourself up. And it really feels like your own thoughts are the enemy. It's like this little voice in your head is just dead set on making you miserable no matter what's actually going on. Well, what if that's not just a feeling? What if it's actually a clue?
So here's the core idea we're digging into today. A lot of our emotional pain doesn't really come from what happens to us. No, it comes from the unexamined, totally irrational, and, well, frankly, unscientific beliefs we have about those things. We're basically creating our own misery with thoughts that just do not line up with reality.
And these blind spots, this is what psychologists call irrational beliefs. Just think of them as these super rigid, demanding rules that are kind of hiding in the back of your mind. You know, the I musts and they shoulds that spark all that anxiety and frustration whenever life, inevitably refuses to play by your rules.
And look, when we say scientific thinking, we are not talking about needing a lab coat and a bunch of beakers. It's way, way simpler than that. It's really just a mental toolkit, a way to get clear on your thoughts by being flexible, sticking to the facts, and, this is key, being willing to change your mind when the evidence just doesn't back up your belief.
And this is where it gets super practical. The source material we're looking at gives us a clear 5-step method to actually apply this kind of scientific thinking to our own lives. Think of these as the rules of the game for checking if your thoughts are actually in touch with the real world.
All right, let's walk through these. The first two are all about getting grounded. You got to stick to the facts and you have to think logically. Don't let what you want to be true hijack what is true. The next three, these are about your whole mindset. Stay flexible, test your beliefs like a scientist would test a hypothesis, and this might be the toughest one, drop the whole idea of deservingness. The universe doesn't owe you a thing. Realizing that is a total game changer. Okay, so we've got the rules. Now what? How do we actually use them to, rip up our anxieties? Well, the goal is to take our most upsetting thoughts and put them on trial, scientifically. So let's run 2 very common anxieties through this process and see what happens. So first up, the competence trap. Oh yeah, this one is for all the perfectionists out there. It's that crushing pressure we put on ourselves to do everything flawlessly, and then that horrible wave of self-criticism that hits us when we, inevitably act like a human and make a mistake.
Okay, here's our hypothesis for this first experiment. This is the little thought that's causing all the trouble. Because I want to be competent, I absolutely must be competent. I mean, it sounds kind of reasonable on the surface, doesn't it? But let's put it to the test. And as soon as we put this belief under the microscope, it just falls apart. Is it factual? Nope. It totally ignores that you're a human being who makes mistakes. Is it logical? No way. Just because you really, really want something doesn't magically make it a universal law. But here's the real kicker. Does this belief actually help you? And the answer is a hard no. It's a guaranteed recipe for anxiety and self-loathing.
All right, our second experiment is going to tackle the fairness fallacy. This is the source of so much of our anger and resentment, right? It's that deep down belief that the world has to play by our own personal rulebook of what's fair. And here's the hypothesis we're testing this time. It's kind of a 1-2 punch. First, people must treat me fairly. And second, if they don't, they are just rotten, terrible people. This single thought is the fuel for so much rage and bitterness. Let's see how it holds up. And what do you know? This belief crumbles just as fast. Is it factual? Nope. There's no universal law that says people have to be fair. Is it logical? Not really. One unfair thing someone does doesn't make their entire being rotten. And again, does holding on to this belief help you? Absolutely not. It just makes you miserable. It fuels obsession and rage and completely gets in the way of you calmly solving the actual problem. So we've seen this thing in action. Now let's boil it all down into a toolkit that you can pull out anytime you feel that anxiety or anger start to bubble up. Think of this as your mental checklist for spotting those unscientific, trouble-making thoughts. So this is what you're on the lookout for.
Watch out for any thinking that just denies the plain facts of reality. Watch for those logical leaps, like, because I want it, it must be so. Be really suspicious of any idea that can't be tested or proven wrong. And be careful with beliefs that are rooted in what you think you deserve. And finally, really question that assumption that your anger or your anxiety is actually helping you get good results. Spotting these patterns? That's the huge first step.
Look, the crucial point in all of this is that you are not powerless here. You are not at the mercy of your own negative emotions. By using these really simple principles of scientific thinking, you can systematically find and dismantle the very beliefs that are causing you pain. This method, it's the antidote.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought. This isn't just some interesting little theory. It's a call to action. I want you to take one thing that's been stressing you out, a worry, a frustration with somebody, and run it through this process. What's the irrational belief sitting at the very heart of it? And what are you going to do to start thinking about it more scientifically, starting right now?